Okay, people, so today what's going on is a couple weeks back I was using my lawnmower. I had cut down some Mexican petunias and the little tiny stumps that were still sticking up out of the ground. Decided to run them over with my lawnmower. Not a very good idea. I pushed it a little faster than I wanted to, like it kind of got stuck. I pushed it, it went and the lawnmower stopped. I tried to start it, it wouldn't start. I could smell gas, so I knew it was getting gas. I checked the spark plug connection, make sure it didn't come loose. That seemed to be fine, but it wouldn't start. Tried to start it again about a week or two after that. Wouldn't start again. So reading up on the internet, I have determined that what has probably happened, because everything will spin underneath. If I turn the blade, everything turns without binding, without making any noise. So I'm assuming what has happened is I busted the on the top of the crankshaft. There's a flywheel. And between that flywheel and the crankshaft, there's a thing called a flywheel key. And the flywheel key will shear if the motor comes to an abrupt stop, which is exactly what happened. So I'm assuming that's most likely what happened, since I don't feel any mechanical binding or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is take this all apart and show you how to access that key, check it, and replace it if necessary, which I think is going to be the case here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is remove all this stuff covering the flywheel. The flywheel is underneath here, so you want to get to all that. That's your first step. Okay, so you've got access to your flywheel. The next step is you want to remove this bolt here. That's on there pretty good. So you're going to take a 2x4, if you can see that. And you're going to stick that right up in the discharge hole and kind of wedge that in there. And what this is going to do is keep the blade from turning as you're trying to loosen that nut. So for that, I'm just going to use a big breaker bar and hit it. You can also use an impact wrench, but I'm not going to bother waiting for my compressor to charge up and everything. And actually, that came off pretty easy. I thought it was going to be more difficult. Actually, it's kind of hard to see my key down in here. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Let's see if I can bring this in, give you a better view of it. See, I really can't tell what's going on, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this flywheel and see what's happening with that key down there. Okay, so you could use a flywheel pulling tool to get this thing out. I don't actually have one of those. I wish I did. So instead, what I'm going to use is this big pry bar. Just kind of try to gently go from side to side, trying to just kind of wiggle this thing up. Like I said, very gently, very carefully. I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure on it. I've seen videos where people beat these with a hammer as well. I mean, you're more than welcome to try that on your equipment. I, however, am going to try to avoid that if I can. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to, though. What I would see them do is kind of hit this center bolt with a hammer which I think would put a lot of shock on the motor and the bearings and stuff like that. And then also beat upwards on the flywheel, which is not an option here because I can't access it from the bottom, which is why I'm trying to just kind of see what I'm doing here. So naturally, as soon as I get the camera off, or turn the camera off, I get this thing out. And the way I did it was I just gave it a few good little smacks on the side with a hammer. Not too hard, but hard enough to get it out apparently. So, actually it looks like my key is still in place here. Which is interesting. Which means that that's not the reason why my lawnmower is not starting. So I guess I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what the hell's going on with this thing.